Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to talk about fostering diversity and growth in student writing, and we're going to look at that through the lens of the six trait rubric, which I know some of you are familiar with and others not so much. So I wanted to take a brief walkthrough of how this rubric can be used to drive and support diverse populations when it comes to academic growth around student writing. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, let's look at our objective. So today in this session, we will look at how the six trait rubric can develop and support a diverse population of students to gain access to high quality writing. So the six traits to the rubric are ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. When we have clarity like this in a rubric, it helps teachers and students understand what aspects of writing are being evaluated and really what constitutes high quality writing in each area. So there's more of a narrow focus rather than it being super zoomed out and very broad like most writing assessment rubrics. This tends to zoom in more in depth to provide more clarity, again, for both teachers and students. So, how does it impact and promote equity and inclusion? Well, the six trait rubric is not tied to a specific genre of writing, so this gives our students access to more creative components outside of the typical academic genres. Now, there's nothing wrong with those genres, so we know we have argumentative, we know that we have like an informative explanatory essay, and then we know we have narrative writing, which makes up the big three in an academic setting. But what I like about the six trait rubric is that it does provide and support those genres of writing, but it also gives access to more creative components of writing, maybe even more personal aspects of writing for students to really be able to voice their concerns, maybe about a political issue going on, but also to allow them to voice cultural impacts in their lives or stories. So, briefly, what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of walk through in the next several slides to discuss how the instructional rubric promotes student voice and feedback is one of the most important pieces to writing growth. So, to begin, it allows students to take ownership of their own work and collaborate on ways to further improve. Now, with targeted feedback, this is something that does have to be modeled by teachers so that students can learn how to do it. It is not something they know how to automatically do, as with most things. So we do model so that we can show them how to do it. And at some point, we would hope that students would be able to provide feedback to each other. One of the other things that I think is really important about the six trait rubric is that it does provide a holistic assessment overview. So historically, writing assessments have not considered diverse populations and their interpretations of how they see writing. Using the six trait rubric, you can holistically assess writer components like voice that give space and respect to diverse populations. So it doesn't really limit students within the scope of, like, let's say they're writing an argumentative. They can write an argumentative, but there's also a lot of things that we explicitly state in writing. There's a lot of implicit things when it comes to what students bring to writing in terms of their cultural impacts or influences. So what I really like about the six trait rubric is that there's a whole section tied to student voice that I think really helps students develop that lens and those interpretations of how they see the world. And then also, it promotes revision and growth, which is really important. And honestly, it speaks beyond writing. It's just great traits of being an individual. So, the six trait rubric encourages revision and growth in writing skills by first identifying strengths. What are the things you are super good at? And weaknesses in each trait. Students can use feedback from the rubric to revise their work, refine their ideas, improve organization, enhance voice, and so on, leading to continuous improvement in their writing abilities. And at some point, students will be able to assess their own work as well as their peers to collaborate around areas of growth. And that's where the real development starts to happen when it comes to students gaining their own voice in writing. The rubric provides space for different types of writing, both academic and creative. It is more encompassing compared to like SBAC rubrics that are usually genre specific, as I had mentioned before. But the sixth trait rubric provides a standardized framework for evaluating writing. However, again, it doesn't strictly tie to those components. And then we have supports for differentiation, which is always a struggle when it comes to writing. The rubric allows for a larger lens to look through in order to see areas of growth and areas of support for students. With its breakdown of each section, you can distinguish if a student is having issues with content or maybe it's with word choice. And then you can go ahead and provide the necessary supports. So it goes a little bit deeper rather than the student is not citing textual evidence. Well, why is the student not citing textual evidence? Is it because they're still struggling to grasp the concept? Is it a fluency issue? Or is it something like word choice where they're having maybe a tough time coming up with the things that they want to say? So again, it really zooms in on what each individual student needs and gives you more clarity about where you need to support. And then lastly, and most importantly, you can gauge where students are when it comes to analytical skills with this rubric. This is more prominent in the ideas and content section of the rubric where you can delve into deeper understanding. It's also heavily tied to fluency and comprehension. We know that if students can provide deeper meanings in their writing, that means that with their reading, they're able to reach those full levels of comprehension and really dive into a deeper meanings of text that they're writing about. And, I hope that this brief walkthrough has provided you with some ideas around the benefits of the sixth trait rubric. We'll definitely dive into more structural components of it as we continue introducing this to you. But also think about its ability to expand writer's voice. I think that's really important. It's something that we do tend to leave out in our academic writing instruction, and it's something I would love for our school site to begin doing. So thank you guys for your time, and I hope that this was helpful for you.